Whoa, did you see what the sun did last night, or did you feel it? Our sun emitted a very strong X-class flare late last night, right as Pluto was entering retrograde. Make no mistake that the planetary alignments and the sun cycles have everything to do with each other. We had rogue CMEs, we have more coronal mass ejections on their way, and we also have the bulk of that plasma coming towards us here in the next 72 hours. At the very end of my video, I am going to talk about the energy today and our moon here in Pisces, and also Pluto entering into retrograde. But we have so much going on with the sun right now. Let's get into that first. This is a look at the sun today. So we had a very strong X-class flare come from this region right here that is Earth facing right now, 3663. Very impulsive. We'll get into exactly what that looks like here in a second, but we also are getting some light from 3664. That is a very new sunspot region and growing exponentially within the past 24 hours. So we're going to take a look at both of those. This is our region 3663. This is a new sunspot region that grew so much within the past couple of days. It's only been on the sun for a couple of days, and it has definitely grown in size and in complexity. It is right now in beta, delta, and gamma range. It is increasing in the number of sunspots and in the number of its size. We also have a larger percentage now of proton levels in this sunspot region. We're at a 10%. We're lucky that we didn't go into a solar radiation storm when we had that X-class flare, but most of the bulk is northern, but we will see a glancing blow, even though the data is still being analyzed. But we have a larger percent chance of having another X-class flare, and really this is coming together, so I don't see anything but something larger coming from here, especially since it is just growing very rapidly right now. This is the progression of that region. You can see that we were in beta, it gained a gamma configuration, or dropped that, gained a delta configuration, and then today we're in all three of them, so it is getting a lot larger. You can see the number of sunspots that is growing, and you can also see the size and how much it is growing as well. We're already getting quite a bit of light from this, and it is growing, and they're showing a lot of potential to have another X-class flare. So within 4 days, this region grew enough to emit an X-class flare that we really weren't ready for. Remember, this is an Earth-facing sunspot region. We also have coronal holes that are streaming all of this into our planet a lot quicker than anticipated. That's why we had the R3 radio blackout, which is very strong, emit from our X-class flare. So because it is surrounded by those coronal holes, this happened pretty abruptly. And you'll love this. It peaked at 2:22 UTC time. Angel number 222 is all about support and being balanced and harmonious. Nevertheless, this coronal mass ejection from this X-class flare sent us into a type 2 and a type 4 radio sweep. This is where we are at currently. However, we are getting some more solar flares incoming right now with a lot of percentages that are up today. So much so that we have a 25% chance of having an X-class flare today. We have a 75% chance of having M-class flares, which we will see today. We are going to see this C-class flares inevitability, but 25% within 1 day from several sunspot regions. Let's see. Now, we did have some coronal dimming, which suggested that we did indeed have a coronal mass ejection, which is an ejection of plasma from the sun. So basically, we had the solar flare. Associated with it was the CME. This CME is directed more north of the Earth-Sun line, so we could see a glancing blow from this, or it could be a lot stronger. But we still have data analysis that is still ongoing at this time. And this is what we are presented with today. So we are having quite a bit of light coming from 3663 and 3664. We will take a look at 3664 right after this, but notice that we are getting several of these M-class flares, an X-class flare, and a high potential of having more today. Now, this is region 3664. It has shot off multiple M-class flares so far, has not been on the sun very long, and it gained a gamma configuration. So within the past 24 hours, this has grown also exponentially, which means that our sun is fluctuating right now in its magnetic complexity. So these regions could pop up a lot easier and produce a lot worse solar flares than what we may be used to. This region did produce an M4.4. There was a coronal mass ejection that was associated, but data is still ongoing for that CME as well. Here's a look at our coronal holes. So as you can see, they are Earth facing and they are directed right by our active region 663 right here. This one is Earth facing in the current moment, so we are getting a steady stream in our solar winds, which were enhanced, and we'll get into the geomagnetic storm, I know. But we also, on top of all of this, had two filament liftoffs that were around this region right here. Yet again, data is still ongoing if we will have an effect from these lifting off. But let's get into the large geomagnetic storm that we had last night. Last night we had a passage of two coronal mass ejections within 24 hours. It produced this strong G3 geomagnetic storm, very impulsive. This storm produced some effects on our power grid, on our satellites, on our GPS, and of course on you. Were you wired? Now, we were already having a CME passage. Our IMF was already increased, but it abruptly increased as we had another interplanetary shock that produced this very large aurora and had a very large hemispheric power. Our low line base level was around 400 kilometers per second. We jumped pretty quickly into 450, and then we had a very large jump here. That would be into our KP7 G3 geomagnetic storm levels up into 500 kilometers per second, which wasn't very strong or fast. Nevertheless, when you have a weekend magnetic field because of one and another one jumps right on top of it, it creates a very large effect. Currently, this CME is waning. We are now down to 427 kilometers per second, but we were only expecting maybe active levels of a G1, but we got a G3 strong geomagnetic storm instead. Because of that sudden impulse of energy, we jumped pretty rapidly up into those KP7 levels, and this is going to continue to be unsettled to active for the next couple of days up until maybe May 4th as it wanes away. But really, we don't know exactly if that's going to happen because we still have data analysis ongoing for the X-class flare that we just had. Now, if we do have an effect of that CME reaching us, we could definitely see us slipping into some strong geomagnetic storms just like this one. Currently, we are at a KP2. This is our 3-day geomagnetic forecast. We have already hit that KP7. Now, we could see some active conditions here again, likely on the 4th and the 5th due to a positive polarity that is incoming now. So Saturday and Sunday, we could be in those KP4 levels. We will keep an eye on all of this going on from here. Here's our Schumann resonance. We had a thunderstorm yet again over Tomsk, Russia, producing this frequency burst of the disruption of its sensory systems. It went into a power of 56 and increased the frequency. This will go down because the storm has passed. Let's get into the planetary alignments because that has a lot to do with what you're going to be feeling and experiencing for the next couple of days. So how's that for an energetic day? You might be feeling all over the place today. Plus, we had the X-class flare at the same exact time that Pluto turned into retrograde. So for the first time in our lifetime, Pluto goes retrograde in Aquarius. This is the planet of transformation, and it will stay there until 2044. Why is this important? Because evolution is transformation. Pluto is the transformation planet, and we're in Aquarius energy. There's so much going on. So yesterday may have been explosive, and today our moon is in Pisces, so it's inspiring a lot of new ideas, a lot of new flows. We also have Mars and Pluto that are working together today, so they're gonna build this new excitement, so we have more of a determination to achieve our goals, right? So we don't need to have anything, and we're not going to let anything stand in our way this time because we are pushing forward. There is no time to look back now. The Sun and Neptune are also going to meet up. It's going to create a lot of confusion. It's going to create a lot of fear agendas that you need to stay out of. And if you get sucked into that narrative and lose your motivation and your willpower, don't worry, it's only temporary. Today, the energy may feel restless and intense. Here's a list of what you may be feeling today. Let me know if that is the case because the energy is intense. Love ya.